Hey guys, Matt here from Rec Brewery. This is the Schofferhofer Grapefruit clone. It's finally finished. And I'm going to go ahead and show you some brewing footage first. And we'll come back and talk about this. So see you in a minute. All right, it's a brew day. Let's go ahead and put the greens in. Got the water already ready to go. This Greenville is 50-50 Pilsner and wheat, so I'm going to put a handful of rice hulls in there just to play it safe. Although I'm sure it'll be fine. And then I got just real light on the salts today. It's just a gram of each. Calcium chloride, gypsum, and Epsom salt. First things first, we need to deliver water into the mash tun. Okay, we've delivered the water. I've gone ahead and topped up the HLT some more, just to get the temperature right. But we ought to give this a stir and see where we're at. Let's go ahead and do that. Mash paddle. Do a little bit of this one-handed here. See, yeah. So about 3.5 gallons for mash water for this one. This is a very light beer. The Schofferhofer Grapefruit clone that I'm trying to make. So we're starting off at about a 4.5% beer because, and it's going to be low as far as the volume goes intentionally, because we're going to have to add in grapefruit juice or soda or something to make up the rest of this beer. It's basically kind of like a radler or a shandy of sorts, so it's going to be mostly beer, but a portion of it's going to be juice after back sweetening. So come back in a minute. All right, got the mash going now. So we'll go ahead and start that 60-minute timer and check the pH here in a couple of minutes. All right, and while I'm at it, I need to rinse this out. I washed out one of my better bottles. I hadn't used in a while. And I just have my keg cleaner going. Also serves as a carboy cleaner. So that's just Star San. Just gonna run that for a few minutes and make sure it's good and sanitary, because I gotta move the Rasputin's Beard, which is my Russian Imperial Stout. Gotta move it into here, because it's been fermenting on primary for almost a month. And we're going to stick it in here for conditioning for a couple of months. Alright, got a little wort simple out of the mash tun, cooled it down. And that's a little higher than I wanted. I was aiming for 5.2, or even 5.2, some change. This is only with 2 ounces of acidulated malt, and I probably should have done 3, but that's okay. Still well within the range, and we're going to roll with it. I just wanted to show this. This is why I usually don't do Star San with pumps. It is running in there, but it is all foam. And I don't know, I mean, it is kind of still running. You can kind of still see that, but barely. So, this is a public service announcement for pumps. If you're gonna do 5-star stuff, they both work perfectly fine, but if you're gonna run for a period of time like I'm doing, trying to sanitize with the Star San, go ahead and get yourself some SaniClean. Does a good job sanitizing and cleaning as well, but less foam. Okay, we're sparging now. Heat up the mash. Don't let that boil down nice and slow. Got the water and the mash done about the same rate, about an inch or so above the green bed. So let this run for a while, fill this up, and we'll see you at the next step. All right, boil's going, time for the hops. Actually, I'm changing things a bit. I was going to use Ella, but I found that that was a old bag that I had, so I'd like to go with the newer stuff. So this is from last year, bittering charge. Switching it up with Citra. This is supposed to be a grapefruit beer anyway, so this will work just fine. Go ahead and start the 60-minute timer on there, and we're off. Alright, boil's done. Turn off the heat. We have our last bit of hops. This is like an ounce and some change of Citra. Put that in there. I've already did the yeast starter, or it's the yeast nutrient and the Whirlpock tablet. Just forgot to film it. And yeah, now we can start chilling. So I already got the water running through here, or the wort running through here. And all we gotta do is turn on the cold water. There we go. All right, and last but not least, I got my starter here with the Omega OYL 21, the Hefeweizen ale. So go ahead and pitch this. I'm just gonna put the whole thing in there. And I purposely only brewed 4 gallons because when this is done, I have to add about 1 gallon of the grapefruit juice to make up the full 5 gallons in the keg. There we go. Put on our lid. Actually, can't forget the tilt. That should go first. Got our airlock. Okay, here it is, tucked away. The wort came in around 78. I do want to ferment this below 75. I believe that was the range on this one. So I'm just going to set the ferment chamber to 66 for now, just to let this come down in the next hour or two. And then I'll probably ferment this somewhere around 68 or 70. It has only been an hour. That's the beauty of a starter. Already off to the races. Okay, so it's time to add the stabilizer in. This thing is done. So the information that I have, is the first time I'm doing this, I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit here. But we need to add some sorbate and some sulfate. So I have potassium metabisulfate, and supposed to add that first, wait 12 hours, and then add the sorbate, wait 48 hours, and then we can back sweeten. So I have my potassium metabisulfate that I use for my water treatment, before I add the water to the HLT. Hopefully I won't be too much in the shot here, but I crack this open. By the way, I snuck a sample. This is tasting really nice. Just a base wheat beer at this stage. Yeah, so you can see the krausen on there is definitely died down. but it is now reading 10:05, and it's been that way for a couple of days, so it is done. It's actually below the final gravity I was expecting. So according to my instructions, it says 1/4 teaspoon for 5 gallons. There's a little bit less than 5 gallons in there, and that's intentional because I need to add in about a gallon of pink grapefruit juice. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the full 1/4 teaspoon here. Now what I don't know is if I'm supposed to mix that in or not. So I may do that. I think I'm just going to give it a little bit of a shake. Just, I really don't want to disturb things too much. That's how you. Oh yeah, that's good and shaken up in there now. So I think that'll be good enough. Yeah, I don't like to introduce, touching the wort once it's fermented. Just asking for trouble, even if it's a sanitized spoon. I know it's probably fine, but there's nothing wrong with being a little anal with sanitation. Okay, it's been 12 hours. Well, it's been a little more. It's probably been about 15. So now I'm going to add in the potassium sorbate, and according to this, it says to use 1/2 teaspoon per gallon if you're sweetening, and then of course we'll leave it sit for 48 hours after. Now I have a little over 4 gallons in here, so we're going to have to add in 4 1/2 teaspoons, which is 2 teaspoons. I'll go ahead and sanitize here. Pop this open. And I'm just putting it into a little jar here to seal it for next time. So I'm going to put in heaping teaspoons since I have a little over 4. And we will shake this up just like before. Stirring in pretty nicely. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to be moving the Schofferhofer Grapefruit clone into the keg. This is just the wheat beer, and I picked up some Simply Grapefruit. I'm going to try this. I saw somebody else that said that they tried to make this recipe and they used pink grapefruit juice. I couldn't find that, so what I did was I took a sample. This has already been popped open, but basically it's supposed to be like a 25% grapefruit juice to the rest being beer. So that's exactly why I brewed 4 gallons have 4 gallons in the fermenter going into the 5-gallon keg, and the other gallon roughly will be the grapefruit juice. Now these are 1.6 quarts, so it's not going to be quite a gallon between the two of these, but it will be close. And this isn't quite 4 gallons, I think it's a little bit over, so it'll work out. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to do this as an open transfer so I can see, because I'm not confident that I don't have too much in here and I don't want this to overflow. So we're just going to pour this grapefruit juice in here at the bottom. This is a sanitized keg. And when I made the little sample in a glass earlier, it tasted okay. It wasn't quite as sweet as the Schofferhofer is, but hey, I can add a little bit of corn sugar if I need to. I'm going to try this as is first and see how it turns out. So I'm going to pour both of these in here. And yeah, we shall see. Alright, I'm going to sanitize those. Stick that down on the bottom there. And I'm going to sanitize the cork here. Let's put that on here. Go ahead and turn the gas on. let it rip. So, see how we go. We're gonna fill this up and right up to the top there. I'm gonna go ahead and start carbonating. Okay. So a little bit short, so that wasn't quite 4 gallons in there, or actually this wasn't quite a gallon either. So we're not all the way filled, but it's pretty close. It's only a couple inches below. It's about here-ish, so it's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and first the headspace. Some CO2. And what I think I'm gonna do is force carbonate this overnight, just to get a good carbonation going here in 24 hours and see how it turns out. Usually I do this like 3 or 4 times and make sure if there's any oxygen in there, it'll be gone. Alright, so I'm going to set this to about 40 psi overnight in the ferment chamber, because I can essentially keep it cooled in there as if it were in the kegerator. And then once that's done, I'll go ahead and move it over to the kegerator tomorrow and get a first pour. Okay, so here we go. This is the Schofferhofer Grapefruit clone. It's a bit of a mouthful, so I decided to call this, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, it is translated in German to basically as a grapefruit beer. But it's Sores Fruchtbier. I'll put the spelling underneath here somewhere. But basically, this was brewed beginning of August, and took quite a bit of time for the various steps. So we brewed just a standard wheat beer, 50-50 Pilsner and wheat. Just did some citra hops in this to kind of help accentuate the grapefruit that I'm trying to get out of this. I used the Omega yeast, OYL021. It's their Hefeweizen ale. And yeah, I think I've used this yeast before, and I haven't used it in quite a while. And one of the things that I had learned about this, well, when I first, after I had transferred this beer and after I had done the steps to kind of, stabilize the beer and stabilize the yeast so it didn't go crazy once I added the grapefruit juice, I noticed that it had a pretty significant sulfur smell to it. And I think that's probably the yeast, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons I didn't use that yeast before, or sorry, use that yeast again, because I do recall that happening last time when I used this yeast. I'm pretty sure that's all this was, and really it just needed a little bit of extra time to get rid of that smell out of there. And actually I don't really smell it now, so it just needed a couple more weeks to kind of chill out in the keg. And I kept degassing it every so often, every couple of days or so, just to make sure that whatever was in there, the aromas were gone. Yeah, so that pretty much took care of it, just letting it wait a little longer. So here we are, we're about a month later since I brewed this. And to stabilize it, I did the potassium metabisulfate at first, and then I followed it up with a potassium sorbate after, giving it the appropriate amount of time in between that I've read online. And yeah, so it was 12 hours after the first step, the metabisulfate, and then it was 48 hours after the sorbate. And then I went ahead and cold crashed it for a couple of days. Added in the grapefruit juice and kegged it, basically kegged it right on top of the grapefruit juice. So when I brewed this beer, I intentionally brewed it 4 gallons, and I put about a gallon of grapefruit juice in there. Now what I wanted to use was pink grapefruit juice, which is a little more sweeter. And I learned pretty quickly that the regular grapefruit juice made it a little bit tart. So I back sweetened it with a little bit of corn sugar, not much. I don't know, maybe a cup or so, I think I probably about a cup. It wasn't much. To be fair, I have tried this a couple times. It is pretty good. And what I was trying to go for is that Schofferhofer Grapefruit beer. It's really hard to find, and I got hooked on this in Germany, in Epcot. So let's go ahead and try this out. Cheers. Well, the aroma on this, very grapefruit in the nose. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. In the nose, you can smell that there's some sweetness in this beer, and you can smell a little bit of the rind from that grapefruit. It smells pretty close to the original. So let's dig in. Yeah, it's not quite like the original, but it's very close. And I think the difference is that grapefruit juice, because I'm definitely getting some good sweetness from this. Getting the grapefruit for sure. Very, very grapefruit forward, which is what this beer really tastes like. However, the sweetness is a little bit subdued compared to what the Schofferhofer is, and I think that's because of the difference between using like a regular grapefruit juice and using like a pink grapefruit juice that has a little bit of sweetness to it. But I'm very pleased with this. I'm definitely going to try this again and try different juice next time. I think the base beer turned out really well. I think the hop selection worked out pretty well, and I kept it low. I believe the IBUs on this one were below 20. I want to say they were maybe 15 or 18. I don't have it written down, but it was pretty low. Yeah, that's good. And I opened up the garage. It's very nice today. It's finally not 100 degrees anymore. This week it's been dipping into the 80s, high 70s. Matter of fact, I believe it's 77, 78 right now. So yeah, this is good beer for this kind of weather. All right. Well, there you go. Yeah. So what I'll do? Will I do this again? Absolutely. I think. And actually, the color of this, the original beer is pretty close to this. You can see through it slightly, but that's kind of to be expected with all the grapefruit juice that's in here. The head retention isn't really much of anything, and that's pretty spot on to the original. That's pretty much how that looks in the glass. So there you go. Well, we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Cheers.